Hi everyone, welcome to this edition of the broadcast where we give you bite-sized bits of best practices to help you be a better leader and a more effective communicator. Earlier this week, we put this question out on the web for you to answer, and the question is, what is your best tip for writing great quotes for news releases? So often people in public relations have to write a quote when there is no one there to actually give you a quote. And we've all seen our share of bad quotes. So here are some tips for writing great quotes. The first one comes from Adam, who says, make it sound like something that someone would actually say. That is critical. He goes on to say, that means never using words like leverage or synergy. So I agree with Adam completely. Leave the cliches out of it. Speak the way an ordinary person would speak in an ordinary conversation. Joni says, say it out loud first, then write it down. Joni, that is a brilliant observation because a quote comes from the spoken word. And one of the great flaws when people are writing news releases is they write for the written word. They write a story that looks good in print only. And often print stories don't verbalize well. They're not pleasing to the palate and they're not pleasing to the ear. When you say it out loud, the sentence structure changes. So that is a great observation. Gerard says, speak authentically, directly, and memorably with purposes directed towards your constituents. That's right. The quote, the soundbite, needs to basically state what's in it for the people at home who might be reading that story. And TJ Walker, one of my media training colleagues over all these years, says use a soundbite element and don't start with we are pleased to announce. And I agree with that completely. I don't want to ever hear the phrase we're pleased to announce, we're excited to announce. And I do realize some CEOs and executives speak that way. That's not a good quote. As a journalist, I would never use that. And no journalist today is ever going to put that in print or put that on the air. So quit writing it that way. Here are a couple of tips that I always give people when I teach a writing class. First of all, do like Joni says, speak it out loud. Number two, always avoid the cliches. Number three, call the person that you're actually quoting. See if they have just 3 minutes to talk to you. And ask them this question. Well, if you had to explain that benefit, how would you explain it to a fifth grader in just 15 seconds? That makes them simplify it, not dumb it down, but simplify it, make it more inclusive to everyone. And of course, my favorite way of writing quotes is to compare one thing to something else, what I call the classic compare and contrast quote. One of my favorite front page quotes was one that I gave here in New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina, and the New Orleans Saints had won the Super Bowl, and that quote was, "We have endured the American nightmare. It's our time to live the American dream." Two different views, a compare and contrast. Not only did the reporter scribble it down with enthusiasm, but the reporter put it in the story as the lead quote, and when it got to the editors, they loved it so much, they put it in the headline. So now I have one more headline quote, which I love to have. I hope you have the same success when you're writing quotes, either for yourself to deliver or to put into a news release. For the broadcast, this is Jared Broad. We'll see you next week.